I'm Nick McAfee with Hydro Pools and Pavers. Welcome to Pool School. Today we're standing poolside to go over the water chemistry and proper balance of this swimming pool behind me. We want to discuss today how to properly test and balance the alkalinity, pH, chlorine, and calcium hardness of the swimming pool. We'd like to discuss how to test it and how to properly balance it and how to safely use the chemicals to balance it. Step 1, total alkalinity. Total alkalinity is the measure of the water's ability to resist change in the pH. You want to ensure that you test it at least every 7 days or once per week. The proper range for alkalinity is 80 to 120 parts per million. The alkalinity is the buffer to your pH. The more that the alkalinity is within range, the less your pH is going to fluctuate. There are many factors that adjust the pH in a pool's water, so you want to make sure that the alkalinity stays within the 80 to 120 parts per million. Step 2, pH control. pH is a measure of the relative acidity and alkalinity of the water. It is very important to keep your pH levels between 7.2 and 7.8 to avoid many of the problems that can occur with your pool surface. Step 3, chlorine. It's always recommended to test your chlorine at least every 7 days or once per week. Chlorine is the most widely used and effective and economical sanitizer for swimming pools. Chlorine controls algae and effectively kills bacteria and other disease-causing organisms and removes waste products through oxidation. There are 3 commonly used methods to sanitize your pool. The first being chlorine tablets. You can put those in an erosion feeder or in a chlorine float. The second method is liquid chlorine, commonly sold at many pool stores, acts as an immediate sanitizer, however dissolves very rapidly. And the third method is calcium hypochlorite, or shock. Shock is a powder that is added directly to the water and can be used to sanitize without stabilizer. If you have a heavy bather load, or if we have very heavy rains, you want to add shock to your system to remove any contaminants. All right, we're poolside testing our water chemicals. We're using a standard drop test chemical set. Using a parameter. The parameters down the side have measurements on them. So each chemical that we test is going to have a different fill level. First, we're going to test the alkalinity. 25 milliliters is where we want to go, which is this level right here. When testing, you always want to take your parameter, point it straight down. Always make sure you go elbow deep and then stay away from a return line. So you want to be in between returns or on the opposite side of the pool. For the alkalinity, the first drops is going to be the R-007. We're going to set our parameter down and we're going to put 2 drops of the solution into our sample. You want to give that a little swirl. And then we're going to use our next solution, which is the R-008. Now we're going to add 5 drops of this solution. As you can see, our water sample is changing colors. We're going to get that mixed. And the last solution is going to be our R-009. And what we're going to do is after each drop, we're going to swirl it until it changes colors. You want to count each drop because this is going to give us our alkalinity level once we're finished. If that's 4 drops, 5, 6, 7, you can see it's starting to change colors up top, 8, 9, 10, and we're going to give it one more drop, 11, and that's our alkalinity reading. Now, in order to get our parts per million, you want to measure the number of drops, multiply that by 10. We had 11 drops, so that's a parts per million of 110 parts per million of alkalinity. We're well within our perfect range between 80 and 120. That's the alkalinity. Once you're done, dump the solution back in the pool and rinse your parameter out and get ready for the next test. Testing your pH. We're using the drop test solution R004. It's a red dye. Always take your parameter in between your returns. Go elbow deep, come up. And now we want to be at this line, which is 44 milliliters. And we're going to put 5 drops of the R4 solution. Put the lid on, give it a good shake. Now it's always recommended to have a white background so you can get a good look. It's real sunny today, but if the clouds are out, you might have a different reflection of the colors. This gives you an accurate reading of what the solution is. So our pool's sitting at about a 7.8 to 8.0 pH level. we'll want to use the muriatic acid to bring our pH levels down to the 7.5 to 7.6 range. As you can see, here's our color pattern. Always when you're using muriatic acid, get a 5-gallon bucket, add some water to it, and then add the acid quantity that you need, and then add that to the pool. Always be careful, use safety first. If you need to use gloves, use protective eyewear if needed. Testing for chlorine. This time we're going to use the same parameter, only the other side. We're going to fill it to the 9 milliliter mark. Again, go elbow deep, away from a return jet. There's our water level. 5 drops of the R1 agent. We'll add our cap. Give it a good shake. Use our white background to get our reading. Now you can tell our water level is pretty clear, so we need to add some chlorine to boost our levels up. We want our level to be between this, right on this 3 mark, between 1 and 3. One more step to this, we're gonna get a reading on what our total chlorine is by adding the R3 solution, and we're gonna add 5 drops to that. Now you wanna use the same sample that you use to get your free chlorine. Now this is our total chlorine. And since we had a 0 on the first test, we have a 0 on the second test, so we know that we need to add more chlorine to sanitize our pool. Testing for calcium hardness. We're going to use our drop test. We're going to fill our parameter up to 25 milliliters, which is this line right here. We're at our 25 milliliters. We're going to take our first solution, which is the R10. We're going to add 20 drops of R10 to the sample. There's 20. Next, we're going to use our R11. We're going to add 5 as we start to swirl. And now you'll start seeing the color change in the water sample. Now, very similar to the alkalinity, our last solution is going to get multiplied by 10 for every drop that we get, and then that's going to give us our calcium hardness of our water. As we put in our R12, we want to take this from red or pinkish color to the blue. Once it turns blue, we'll multiply the number of drops by 10. That will give us our calcium hardness in the water. You want to swirl after each drop. 24, you can start seeing the colors change now. 29. And as you start getting closer, again, use a white background, and you can start seeing the color change through here. So we're gonna go with 1 more drop, that's 30. And that'll put us at about 300 parts per million calcium hardness. If you have a fiberglass pool, again, calcium is important so it doesn't mess with your coping, your pavers, or your concrete, and you don't get the leaching from that into your pool surface. However, with fiberglass, you have a pH neutral surface and a smooth area, so you're not going to get too much scale buildup as long as your pH and your calcium levels are within range. Testing your cyanuric acid. Again, we want to take a different sample bottle this time. We're going to fill it to the 7 milliliter mark, in between the 2 return jets, elbow deep. So we're right at 7. We're going to take our R13 drop solution. We're going to put our drops in until this starts to turn cloudy, and then we're going to transfer this over to our other test sample. We're going to transfer this over to our other test tube. In this test tube, there's a black dot. This is all visual, so as we fill this, you can see the cyanuric acid readings on the back side of the test tube. Once the black dot disappears, then we know our cyanuric acid levels. And again, we'll use our white background to help us do that. And we want to add enough solution to bring the sample level up to the 14 milliliter mark. So as you can see, we've hit our mark right here. We're going to put our cap on, give it a good shake. And now what we want to do is fill this until the black dot disappears. So here you can see we're at a 80 parts per million cyanuric acid level. So we're a little on the higher end of the spectrum with this pool. We'll need to bring this down just a little bit to be within that 30 to 60 parts per million range. The best way to reduce cyanuric acid is reduce the water level and rebalance. Too high a cyanuric acid allows for chlorine lock and will actually make your chlorine inactive or less effective. So making sure that your cyanuric acid levels are accurate and within range is very important to the chlorine effectiveness of your pool. Again, always handle with care, be very cautious, use gloves and eye protection wear. Always, always, always protect yourself before handling chemicals. How to properly set up a hose vacuum in your swimming pool. First thing you need is a telescoping pole, your vacuum head. The vacuum head slides in. You have a clip that snaps into place. You want to take your hose, press it down on top of the vacuum head, and then start feeding it into the water. The most important key to this is to make sure that you get all of the air out of your hose prior to hooking it into your system. If you hook it into your system with air in the hose, it's going to cavitate your pump and cause your pump to possibly stop. So the best way to do this, set your vacuum hose up like this, remove the skimmer basket, and you want to feed the hose right down the side of the pool. What this is doing is forcing the water to come through the hose and get the air out of it. Some people try to use the return jets to fill the hose. Although it may be partially effective, it doesn't get all of the air out. Now what you want to look at is, as you can see in our hose, the bubbles are out and now we have a completely full hose. Feed it through the front of the skimmer. And now you want to connect it to the hole in the skimmer itself. At that point, you know you have full suction and it'll pull up the debris off the bottom of your pool. If you have a situation like this where you have a main drain and a skimmer, you may need to isolate your main drain to cause more suction from the skimmer. Each system is going to be set up differently, so check your systems. If you have an isolation valve, always turn the main drain off so you'll get more suction from your vacuum hose. When setting up your hose vacuum to create more suction through your skimmer, you want to use the valves on your system to isolate the main drain and the skimmer. So in our case, we want to create more suction from our skimmer, so we will open our skimmer up and shut our main drain down. You can hear the pump right there, just picking up, pulling suction from a different point. That gives me full suction from the skimmer, gives me more suction from our hose and from our vacuum head. That'll help pick up all of the debris off the bottom of the pool. If you have a lot of sand and debris, dirt, all of that stuff is going to get caught up into your filter. Once you're done vacuuming, we highly recommend backwashing and flushing all of that debris out of your system. How to backwash your system. Most of our pools, we use a Jandy sand filter. It's a 24-inch sand filter with a multi-port valve. Whether it's Jandy, Hayward, Pentair, or whatever brand you choose, most of the multi-port valves are the same. First and foremost, never turn the valve while the system's on. Always shut the system off first before rotating this valve. The other thing to remember is always rotate clockwise, not counterclockwise. There's a baffle on the inside of the valve that potentially could grab the gasket, causing a tear and creating problems for your system. So always remember, system off first, rotate clockwise. We just put the system into service mode from the automation panel. That turned the system off. Now we want to rotate our valve. We want to rotate the handle clockwise to the 6 o'clock position, the backwash. Now that the system's in backwash mode, we're going to turn our system back on and let the system flush itself out. We just shut the system off from the automation panel. By putting the panel into service mode, it allows us to control everything manually and take it out of automation. The system's currently operating at the 12 o'clock position, which is filter mode. Press down on the handle, rotate clockwise to the 6 o'clock position, which is our backwash. Now that the valve is in position, we're going to turn the system back on, let the pump prime, and that's going to flush out the filter through the backwash line. On this particular system, this is our backwash line. It'll go out through here and then pipe out into the landscape. Now that we've backwashed our filter, the next thing you want to do is take the valve, rotate it from backwash to rinse. What the rinse mode does is turn the pump back on and actually rinses the inside of this valve. So the last thing you want to do is spend all of your time vacuuming the pool, getting it nice and clean, turning the system on without rinsing, and then whatever debris is left in the valve gets shot back to your pool. So now we're going to take the valve from backwash to rinse, again with the system off, rotating clockwise. So now we've turned the system back on. We're operating in rinse mode. You only need to do this for about 10 seconds, just long enough to get some water through this, clear this valve out, and get whatever remaining debris out of that system. Again, this is all going through our backwash line. Our sight glass is clear. We know our valve is clean. Now that we've rinsed our valve, we want to again turn our system off, press down on our handle, put our system back into filter mode, and then turn the system back on. Once the system comes back on, we'll have a clean filter. You'll see our pressure reduced down, and our system will be ready to operate in normal modes. Now we have a clean filter. As you can see, our pressure reduced down by about 5 psi. We know we're operating at an optimal mode. On this dial, you want to reset your dial so the start arrow lines up with where your pressure is at currently. And when that pressure gauge gets up to the next arrow, it's going to say clean filter. It's a 10 psi difference. That's when you know to clean the filter again. Highly recommended at least once per month. Clean your filter, regardless of your bather load and the usage of your pool. If you have a heavier bather load or you're having a party, you have more people swimming, clean it at least once a week. But always at a 10 psi difference between where it's backwashed at to where it gets dirty again. Today we're going to talk about fiberglass swimming pools. I want to tell you the difference between fiberglass and concrete, and I want to show you a few of the different tools that are used in fiberglass versus concrete, and how to maintain concrete versus fiberglass properly. Fiberglass is a little bit different, and what I mean by that is concrete is porous, so chemicals can be added or subtracted or get washed out through the surface of the concrete pool. Fiberglass is a non-porous surface, therefore the chemicals stay in the water and are retained in the water body a little bit better than in concrete. When you're working on fiberglass pools, make sure you remember the type of tools that you're using. The big difference between concrete and fiberglass is the surface. Because concrete is a little more rigid, a little more resilient, you can use a metal brush to brush. With fiberglass, you don't want to use a metal brush. You want to make sure you're using a nylon brush. And when you purchase a nylon brush, be sure you're purchasing 100% nylon, not one of those mixed brushes that have the metal bristles in it in addition to the nylon. It's not likely that you'll get algae buildup, especially black algae, into the surface of the fiberglass pool. However, it is necessary at times to brush it, especially in the south where we get a lot of pollen drop during certain times of the year. Pollen wipes right off. The concrete has the porous surface, so algae is a little more prone to sticking to that surface within those pores. So that's why you would want to use a metal brush. It helps get into the pores of the surface and digs out the roots of the algae and helps get flushed out through the filtration system. A lot of the pools that we construct and a lot of pools that are currently being built have automation attached to them. With that automation, there's automatic valves called actuators. To properly turn the actuator, you cannot manually turn it. You have to use the toggle switch at the bottom left corner that will rotate the valve manually. By doing that, flip the toggle switch into the opposite position that it's currently in. The valve will rotate, and that will allow you to get more suction through your skimmer and isolate your main drain. A lot of pool owners, especially in Northeast Florida, have issues with bugs, no-see-ums, insects. So we partner with a company called Mosquito Nix that uses a misting system around our pools. The reason I like this system is because of the blend that they have. It's a proprietary botanical blend that shoots off a mist to help mitigate the bugs. Mosquito Nix system is a phosphate nitrate-free product, unlike many other products that are out there. You want to make sure that the products you're using don't have nitrates and don't have phosphates in it. If you have nitrates and phosphates in your water, almost immediately your water will turn green. So the Mosquito Nix system is a misting system that gets set up by the equipment. It sprays on demand, a nice botanical blend, which has a nice fragrance. There's no harsh chemicals. It's not going to harm your food, your animals, your pets, or your kids. It works really, really well, especially in Northeast Florida where we are overridden with bugs and insects, and it'll help keep your backyard comfortable and give you a nice swim experience. I'm Nick McVie with Hydro Pools and Pavers. Thanks for attending Pool School. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel at Florida Pool Man. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can get notifications for all of our new videos and the new posts that we come out. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hydra Pools and Pavers, and check out our website at www.hydrapoolsandpavers.com. Thank you and have a great day.